Welcome back to this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, President, Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training. My special guest today is Eiichiro Onozawa, the CEO for Savills here in Japan. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be on your program.
People probably know Savills.
Yes.
Maybe they don't know Savills. Just give us a quick burst on the type of businesses that Savills covers here in Japan.
Sure. Well, Savills itself has originated in the UK about 160 years ago. It has a lot of history.
Wow. Yeah.
And the Japan entity has been in operation for about the last 23 years. But if you look at the progress of our office, it isn't sort of in line with the comparison of national GDP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the long and short of it is my role here is to grow the company to where it should be.
So you're covering real estate, you're
Yes,
doing
it's
valuations.
Yes, evaluations, it's real estate advisory for institutional investors, both on the inbound and outbound front. Yes. So we provide market information, we provide support to people who are willing to buy and sell.
Right. How big is the total operation in Japan?
We have a headcount of about 100.
Oh, it's quite big then.
Yes.
Quite big. All right. So, thinking about how did you become the CEO of Savills in Japan? Give us, because
Sure.
I know when we had a chat, we met at a networking function. You've had a very interesting career as a Japanese executive, very interesting career. So maybe just walk us back a little bit through your career and get us to this point today
Sure.
where you're running Savills.
It's going to go back about 37 years.
No
but-
problem with that, because it's a very exciting, interesting 37 years, I have to say. Listen to what
Sure.
you told me the other day.
Yeah. Well, I joined the largest developer in Japan straight out of college in 1988. And because of my bilingual background, I was assigned to work on a project in LA in about...
Okay, well, why did you have a bilingual background? Most Japanese don't have a bilingual background, but you got one.
Okay.
How did that happen?
Okay, my father was involved in international trade, and he was assigned to the New York office. This was back...
He was like a shoreshoreman? He was in the trading companies?
He was in the trading company. This was 1968.
Right, okay.
So that was my first stint in New York. And the family moved to New York. We spent 7.5 years, which sort of formed the basis of my sort of English capabilities. But thereafter, because my aunt was married to a Japanese American, they were living in Los Angeles at the time. So when I joined college, every summer vacation, I would spend months in Los Angeles.
College was here or college was there?
In Japan.
Oh, you had college.
Yes.
So you went to college here, but then you had the chance to go to the States quite often.
Yes, my undergrad is in Japan, but my graduate degree is in Washington, D.C.
All right.
Yes.
Very good.
So that was sort of the early stages. And when I joined the former company in 1988, year 2, I was sent to Los Angeles to start up an office building. And it was interesting because you would think that a Japanese employee would be sent to an overseas subsidiary. I was not. I was sent to an American company who, at the time, we had business relationships.
Oh, so it wasn't Savills. It wasn't the...
It wasn't Mitsui.
It wasn't Mitsui. It was actually...
It was a
completely
company
separate
called
company.
Heinz.
Oh, Kraft Heinz, who does food products.
No, not the Z. Heinz, Hines.
Oh, okay.
This was a property/asset management company founded by a gentleman called Gerald Heinz. He only focused on quality trophy buildings in the larger cities in the U.S. And because LA was a part of his portfolio, Mitsui contracted out the asset management element to Heinz, and I was sent to the Heinz office.
Right.
So on a business perspective, you could say that my international career started there. But after I came back, I was deeply involved in the development and asset management of office buildings. Moved on to development of condominium units in Yokohama. And that was the point I asked myself, I think I should be studying a little bit more to be in the international arena.
Why? Why did you think that?
Well, my father was also a business degree graduate from the U.S. And I've always had this overriding question: am I doing it the right way? Is there a golden rule that I can learn through a business program?
Well, you did your undergraduate here. Which university did you go
I
to?
went to Keio University.
Keio, and you're studying business at that time?
No, I was studying law.
Law?
Yes.
Well, okay, there's a different field altogether.
Yes, yes.
So you didn't go on to become a bengoshi?
No.
Like that,
No, I just wanted to become a business person at that point.
Okay.
And I was very much interested in being at a company that creates something. And the developer fit that mold very well. I don't have an engineering background, so I wasn't going to be an architect or an engineer.
No.
So within that parameter, I thought I could go to a manufacturing company, but why not be a developer? Because it serves a couple of roles. You not only develop properties, but the purpose of developing properties is for people to have places to work, places to live, and if it's shopping malls, places to shop and have some entertainment factor to it. And it was a very, very rewarding career. But moving on a little bit more, 10, 15 years, after I came back from graduate school, I went to Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. After I came back, I was more interested in doing international business again. So I kept asking the company if I could be transferred, which still took about 6, 7 years after that. But finally, in 2008, I was assigned to the New York office. And then the financial crisis hit.
Oh, good timing.
It was very good timing.
Yeah.
And
it hit pretty hard in the States. Like, I come from Australia.
Yeah.
Australia just sailed through that, no problem at all. But America got whacked.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could say I lived through that experience because my office was facing Lehman Brothers.
No.
So up until the crash, I kind of saw what was happening.
Yeah.
The buildup of, if I may say, it was a ship without a captain. You can notice that from afar. And then that September, the building went pitch black. And the market crashed after that. So having numerous assets that I needed to attend to, it was more than a workout, so to speak.
So in those cases, did the owners of you were managing buildings for owners? Or
No, we were direct
owning
owners.
them yourselves, right?
Yes.
So was the idea that we're going to hold on to it and we'll work our way through this, or we're highly leveraged to own these properties, the banks are calling in the money, we have to unload some property to pay the banks back to get the ratio, loan balance ratio right again. How did they think about that?
Well, the properties at that time were not leveraged at all.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
That's the
Quite
way.
insulated then.
Yeah, the business is based on investing and owning properties on your own account. So yes, there are some debt behind that property, but it was fully.
So in that sense, not too bad.
It wasn't bad, but I would say how to navigate through crisis management mode is probably the big question.
There's also the problem, probably, in that case, it's the tenants.
Yes.
Who can't pay
or the
rent.
Lack of.
Or lack of, exactly.
Yes.
Tenants who can't pay rent or tenants who drop out. And, it was tough here too. I was navigating our way through that in Japan as well with landlords, and there was no mercy shown on the landlord's part, I've got to tell you. But anyway, so that would have been difficult. Yeah.
That was very, very interesting times. And I've lived through that cycle. And when I thought it started to get better, this was probably the early stage of 2010.
Yeah, just in time.
Yeah, well, the market was actually getting better.
Yeah.
It's just that I think it was spring of 2010, the Greek currency crisis happened, and the market tanked again.
Yeah.
So I had to sort of mend all of the wounds that were in the business. And just when I thought things were starting to get better, I received a call from the headquarters asking me to move on to London. So in 2014, I moved to London.
And I think the UK market also went through Lehman shock pretty well compared to the States.
Yes, but the unfortunate event was that the British people elected to be out of the
Brexit.
Yes, EU.
Big mistake, I reckon.
Believe
I
so.
thought at the time, what are you thinking? This is going to be bad in the future. And sure enough, they're paying for it now. Still.
So if you look at the UK from a domestic point of view, it wasn't that bad. It's just that there's so much international capital that gathers in that market. The international investors, including the company I was with at that time, were very nervous about the future prospects. So dealing with that kind of anxiety was probably the toughest challenge I had to face.
So they were worried about bringing capital into the UK and getting a return, or I mean, it's safe capital, but probably the returns are probably not going to be as attractive as if they put that capital somewhere else. That was their concern.
Yeah, well, as a business, there's an allocation based on nationalities.
Oh, okay.
So
you're dealing with funds, basically?
No, it's not a fund, but at the corporate level, you want to think about the allocation of how much you want to deploy, let's say in the US and the EU and Asian nations. So when that balance is affected by events like Brexit, people would say, well, it might be good now, but why not use the extra capital to another country?
There's also, I remember at that time too, there's a lot of discussion about London not remaining a financial hub, and that Paris, all of these investment bankers are departing to Paris or to Germany, and that, London would sort of go down and these others would come up, and that would completely switch the balance, which actually in the end didn't happen. If you think about it now, that did not happen, but it looked like it was going to happen.
Yes, that was sort of the talk of the month. But if you did live and breathe the environment on the ground, so to speak, it really isn't that way, because what's supporting the UK markets is that although the pound is not one of those currencies that are universals, it's the yen, it's the dollar, and the renminbi came into play at that time. But aside from that, the fundamental sort of layout is that people speak English globally. And companies who support businesses with English, like the accountants, the attorneys, they are abundant in the UK. So there is this existing infrastructure that's hard to replicate in a new market. Now, I'm not saying France doesn't have English speakers, but if you look at the sheer amount of stock of talent in the UK, I wasn't really concerned at all. It's just that people get nervous in times of crises, and it's about dealing with those sort of negative thoughts that people have.
And there was a lot of nervousness too. So what happens after that? When did you leave the UK?
I left the UK in May of 2020.
Okay.
That was
just
when,
in time for
COVID.
COVID.
I was under the lockdown myself.
Here?
I couldn't come back.
Couldn't come back
because my successor couldn't make it to the UK at that time.
Right.
I was supposed to come back at the end of April, but it had to be pushed back. So there I was in a service department because I've already vacated my flat at that time.
Oh, no.
So I only had one suitcase. And I had...
All the stuff's on a boat somewhere.
Yes, it was. And I had to navigate the murky waters inside a service department.
They got this thing called Savills Row
in
London. If you ran out of clothing, you just whip down there, and I'm sure they'd put something together for you. And so how long before you could actually come back to... You're coming back to Japan, presumably?
Yes, I came back to Japan. I came back to work at the headquarters at the international department. It was primarily of overseeing international investment.
By what time? How long did it take you to be able to do that?
Oh, I came back at the end of May.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like you were stuck there for 6 months or something.
No, but it was a good 2.5 months.
Yeah, which is long in a
Yeah.
service department. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and you can only go outside 30 minutes a day.
Yes. I know that was a very testing period of time.
It is, and I was there by myself because my wife had already gone back at that time. So, I'm pretty self-sufficient, but spending almost 23 hours in a rather small space isn't
prison. Being in prison.
It's not good for the mind.
No. So finally, you come back to Japan,
I did.
and then when did Savills come up as an opportunity?
Sure. I spent 4 years in Japan, 2 of which was at corporate headquarters. 2 was I was running the largest listed REIT in Japan. It was a very interesting and rewarding job. But I had my own views on life, and I wanted to retire.
Wanted to retire?
Yes.
So this is a retirement, coming and working 24 hours a day,
Yes.
hard as possible for Savills. That doesn't sound like much of a retirement.
No, I wanted to enjoy life because there are certain things you can only do when you have the stamina and the will. I can't be traveling the world at age 90, if you understand. So I took a time off. I was happy being retired. But then a call came in and said...
So you actually fully retired? You said, right, I'm done, I'm past it, I'm out, I'm going to full retirement now.
It was not a career break.
Okay, where's those golf clubs? I'm heading to the links or something like that, maybe,
Yeah, things like that. So I just wanted to enjoy life. I traveled intensely throughout Japan. Because I've been outside of Japan for so long, there are certain places that I didn't know of. So it was finding the inner parts of Japan and myself being associated with that. It was fun. And I don't regret a day that I spent in retirement. And I was looking forward to extending that. And I actually was on that path. But then one day a call came in, said, well, there's an opportunity out there. Would you be interested? And I said, look, I have an open mind, be happy to communicate what's out there. And after that, it was very quick. So after about 2.5 months of talking with the parties, I decided to join Savills. And here I am.
Here you are. So you've had an amazing career, really, for a Japanese executive, as I said earlier, and very unique, international. So across the broad breadth of your experience, where you've led teams outside of Japan, you've led teams inside of Japan. If we think about leading teams here in Japan, which could include international people in it, because these days a lot of leaders who are sent here are running multinational teams, or they've got mainly Japanese teams. They've also got foreigners these days more and more in their group. What things have you found worked well for you to get people engaged to follow you as the leader?
Well, I try to localize as much as I can. If I were in the American context, I'd like to act like an American. If I was in the UK, I'd like to act like a Brit. And in Japan, I act as a Japanese, which is
now.
my
Here's an
national-
interesting question.
Yes.
What would be the difference in behaviour between those three different groups? If you're in the States, how do you act? If you're in the UK, how do you act? And in Japan, how do you act? I'm just interested to hear that contrast.
Okay. Well, I'm only generalizing here.
Yeah,
right?
I understand that.
But
yes.
Americans are very friendly. Their favorite word is "don't waste my time." So you need to get to the point. If you're doing business, that is the focus of what you want to do. You don't want to beat around the bush. That's the American style. They want results fast, and sometimes it's very cut and dry. You just do business or don't deal with me. That kind of an attitude. So if you're used to that, that's fine. In the UK, and this is sort of where the similarities kick in between the UK and Japan. I found out over the years, and this is just my perspective, that island nations have similar mindsets. And continental people have different mindsets.
That's interesting.
And it could be, one attribute is that because island nations tend to be smaller. They tend to be isolated, have fewer natural resources. Commerce is the only way to live. So if you have that understanding, you take more time to build relationships. You look at a longer horizon. Not that Americans are short-sighted in any way, but you tend to try to build relationships over time. Now, the flip side of that is getting acquainted and having earned the trust from your counterparts takes more time in the UK, EU context. That's my understanding.
Interesting. And I guess you were saying that Japan is a bit more similar
Yes.
in that regard. Relationship building takes time.
Exactly.
Need to invest in people to have that relationship.
Yes.
Very interesting. Yeah, thank you for that. And so what other things did you notice that are good to get people engaged to follow you as a leader? Because you've come in from outside in most cases, right?
Yes.
Including this one.
Yes.
So you turn up, you've been on the golf course hopefully, or touring Japan and having a great time, touring lots of temples, and then bingo, you're back in a suit and you're back in the office and you're working, and people have to follow you as a new leader. So again, how do you go about getting people to follow you as the leader?
Sure. You have to crystallize the objective. It's good to have a working relationship with all of your colleagues. That's fundamental. But that doesn't mean you cannot not focus on what your business objective is. So you crystallize your goals. This is the goals. How we get there, we can do it through mutual understanding. We can do it through a lot of communications. Or I could introduce my way of thinking of having had business experience in the past. It's a combination of all of those things. So crystallizing the goal is number one. And again, I've learned this throughout my 37 years in the career, that I don't treat differences as priorities or superiorities or inferiorities. I treat differences as differences. And if you can appreciate that, it's fairly easy to hone in on what people need to do. So clarity, focus.
An example of that, say for when you talk about the theoretical level, I get that.
Yeah.
But just running in practical terms, day-to-day behavior or day-to-day working, what does that? How does that translate into action?
Sure. Well, it kind of sort of goes back to the island continental mentality. If you can understand that Americans want to do a deal fairly quickly, you work under that premise. So you put together all of the ingredients that you need, present it to your counterpart, and you just try to find the deal where you can have middle ground. In relationship-based nations, the objective is pretty clear from both parties. Either you want to sell, they want to buy, or it could be on the same platform. But you do need to understand that, and you have to build up that relationships. Again, the approach to business is different. But if you can understand the difference, based on my experience, I can preach to my guys, this is probably how I would do it in this context, or I would take another approach under a different environment. So
interesting though, because when you talk about speed in Japan in the same sentence, it's always a problem because
Yes.
Japan is never speedy.
No.
But Japan is very exact and do tremendous due diligence and cross every T and dot every I
Yes.
before moving to the next stage. There's
Sure.
a tremendous amount of hidden energy going on, and then lightning speed, whereas probably typical Western approach is fast, break things, fix things, and keep going, and somehow you get an end. So, when you're coming from that environment, we've experienced that, and you're encouraging speed. I'm just worrying on the Japanese side, where people are thinking caution, take our time, get it correct, don't be in a hurry, no need to be in a hurry. We got the dough, we're either buying or selling, whatever it is. We don't feel the urgency. So that difference is, I'm wondering how you overcome that type of resistance.
Yeah, there's always friction in the business atmosphere. It's not understanding how business is conducted in one country against another. And when you're at headquarters, you want results based on the mentality and the environment you're in. But when you're on the other side, you have to preach and tell how business is done in certain countries, because if you don't follow that path, you're not going to succeed. And Japan has gone through the bubble economy in the late 80s, and while they were thriving, they threw money at all investments globally. But
I remember.
yes,
I was in Australia at that time.
the Gold Coast.
Buying up a lot of gear.
Yes. But if you look today, almost all of those Japanese investors are gone.
As I recall, they sold it
Yes.
at a loss to the Chinese who
Sure.
bought it. That's what I remember. They bought it at the peak,
Sure.
sold it at the bottom,
Sure.
and the Chinese cleaned up. That's what I remember. And they
Yeah.
held it, but they couldn't hold it. Yeah.
Exactly. So companies have learned their lessons through that painful experience, and they've learned over time that, haphazardly going into a certain market, not understanding the practices, the ways things are done, the people, you cannot gain from that. So even though Japanese companies tend to be a little bit more on the cautious side, it's just about checking the boxes, doing business diligently. So yes, there is still the difference in speed, but again, it goes back to my point. You treat differences as differences, and the only thing that can be negatively drawn from that is if you take too much time, you lose an opportunity. So it's an ongoing process.
But I think the concept of opportunity cost is not particularly well developed in Japan compared to overseas. Like overseas, there is that concept of opportunity cost that we don't take action.
Yeah.
Whereas I always think in Japan, that's never a concern that, we might lose the opportunity. People think, well, we won't make a mistake. And that'll be much better than losing the opportunity. So no mistake, much better than grabbing the opportunity. So we'll take the no mistake option. And so we lose it, who cares? There'll always be another one. So that business mentality is quite striking here.
Yeah.
Still, today, it
Sure.
hasn't changed much.
I think that's the difference in how much risk a company wants to take.
Risk appetite
Yeah.
is pretty small in
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah, well, it's my take is that Japanese companies look for stability, long-term stability. Short-term rewards are not really the goal. If it comes, that's great. But I think the word going concern applies very well to Japanese companies. So it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about the company 30 years, 50 years down the line. So.
Yeah, well, that's right. Dale Carnegie were 113 years old as a company.
Yeah.
And that going concern concept is deep in the organization and how we think about quality, we think about clients, how we provide our services. No shortcuts, going for the long term still. So what about things like getting ideas from people? Now, someone like you, you're very unique background. Well-educated, Keio, Georgetown, educated in New York, educated in London, travel the world. So, been in different viewpoints on different things. So bound to have lots of insights, lots of experience, lots of ideas. So you are probably a person who's not short of ideas. However, what have you found works well to get the ideas out of the people who work for you?
Well, that is where the coaching element kicks in. You speak from experience, but just listening to that is not going to resonate. Some people have to go through the hard way. They'll make mistakes. Sometimes you encourage the mistakes, but at the same time, if you're doing business, you look at what cut it. You look at what are the golden rules. You look at what are the successes in any kind of transaction. What can you learn from it as an individual, as a business person? And you try to build on that. So being interested in things that are happening around you, however scope it may be, is probably the key. You have to have this sort of innate quench to find how things tick.
You mentioned there encouraging people to make mistakes.
Yes.
Which for me, in a Western context, I can see that. But what about a Japanese context? I mean, the thing we talked about before, risk aversion, clarity before taking action, slow decision making to be safe.
Sure.
And yet, as we know, we all learn through our mistakes. We are the collection, all of us, of all the mistakes we've made in life, personal, professional, and that's how we've educated ourselves, right? Except in Japan, that's not really acceptable, is it, to make a mistake and learn from it? Well, you should learn from it, but you shouldn't make a mistake in the first place. So how do you go applying that here in Japan?
Well, in general, Japanese have a very monoculture. I don't fit that mold. Okay. And I fully am aware that I'm not perfect. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. So based on that, I've always lived a life. I will try to build and expand on what I'm good at, but I'm not going to waste my time trying to get an average GPA on something that I'm not good at. So you could say it's a matter of choice or selection. And in certain organizations, in certain contexts, a well-rounded individual may be stronger, but I know I can't be that guy. So I fully understand that, what my strengths and weaknesses are. So based on that, if I find a strength in an individual, I would like to encourage that. And if there's a weakness, of course, I will advise how you would even it out. But if it's not working, there comes a time you need to ditch it.
I think that's probably true. I mean, in terms of leadership thinking, the idea is it's very hard to resurrect someone who's got some failings. Much better to play to their strengths. But most managers, they put their energy into what's wrong as opposed to in what's right. And so the balance is around the wrong way and the time gets sucked up, but the person doesn't really improve much. And you've got the 80-20 rule that, 20% of the people are producing 80% of the results, but 80% of your time is on the 20%, not the 20%, I should say, on the 80% who are not producing. So, the 20% who should be more focused and not getting any attention because you think you're doing okay. These 80% who are not doing well, I'll focus 80% of my time on these guys and gals, and somehow that's going to lift results, which it usually doesn't. So that's interesting. But just in terms of getting ideas out of people, so there's strengths and weaknesses, get that, but what about getting ideas from people? Do you have come up with any particular tools or mechanisms for ideation or brainstorming or things that you found have worked?
I always ask the question, why?
Okay.
Even if you're succeeding, even if you're failing, I ask the individuals, why is so? Why did you succeed? Why did you fail? What's your analysis? If you would have done things differently, would the results have been different? Even on the simplest things, like if you light a match, why does it light? Why is it hot? You have to get to the bottom of that. And I'm pretty sort of meticulous about that element.
Well, I have to tell you, in my entire life, until now, I have never thought about matches and why matches are able to do that. But thank you I'll go and check that out later. But that is a difference. Yeah, that is a difference.
Yes. And because I know I'm not perfect, I need to get down to the bottom of what I'm interested in. Otherwise, I can't perform. I don't want to blindly go into a situation where I'm approving or disapproving something that I don't know about. So I want to get to the bottom of what my professional and personal interests are. Otherwise, I wouldn't be qualified to do it.
If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. Leading is easy. Getting people to follow is the hard part. That is a great quote from Yogi Berra. Surprisingly, despite the complexities of leading here in Japan, everyone has to work it out by themselves. Foreign leaders want practical, applicable, expert advice. This is now available for the first time in history. Grab your copy of Japan Leadership Mastery on Amazon today and avoid the mystery, trial and error, especially the errors. In terms of, I think this is important everywhere in the world, trust. And, America, Australia, where I come from, UK, Europe, whatever, I think every country, trust is important. However, I always feel that in Japan, somehow, trust is more important than other places. It's important everywhere, but I always have the feeling somehow in Japan that trust element has just got that extra element to it that you don't get somewhere else. So in terms of leadership, what things have you found have worked well to build trust with people?
You have to be honest. Even if it is the business context, it's pretty clear what you want to do. If you want to buy something from somebody or buy a service, you're interested in that product or service. It's just a question of when and how much I want to spend for that. And the negotiations in between pretty much constitutes 80% of the business. And I've told this to a lot of my colleagues and friends, actually, that, people say, I'm so stressed at work. And, I tell them, that's exactly the point. Buying and selling is the objective. Very clean, cut, simple equation. But you have humans involved in between. So if there's any stress, I would say from my experience, 80% of stress comes from dealing with people. As long as you understand that, you're okay. You don't have to take things personally. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Of course, you have to look back and say, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? But if you understand that the human element is such a disproportionately large element of business transaction, going back to your point, if you can earn the trust from your counterpart, it eliminates a lot of that.
Yeah, it does. And so you talked about being honest, having clear objectives, etc. But what other things have worked well for you? And I'm thinking here, there's you come into new roles, people don't know you.
Right.
They're going to work you out after some period of time. But what's your approach to build that trust from day one?
I take a very sort of methodical approach. When you join an organization, especially in a leadership role, I know for a fact and from experience that there's several ways to go about it. You can be the dictatorship-like person who mandates everybody to do things under fear, under pressure. That's one way of doing it.
I've had plenty of bosses like that, I can tell you.
But I am also of the mindset that I can work as a servant leader. If people are good at what they do, all I need to do is be a facilitator. So it's, again, the context of what kind of environment, what kind of nationalities you're dealing with, and especially what kind of economic mode you're in. If you're in a crisis situation, crisis management is key. You can't be a servant leadership. You have to take initiative.
Assert, control, lead from the front.
Exactly.
I think I read somewhere that Australians are terrific in crisis situations.
Is that so?
Very good. The problem is, they were making this point, that sometimes the leaders get bored. They create crises.
Yes.
So they can really show their ability. Not so good. But that's interesting. In terms of other things that build trust, I mean, we're talking at a very high level here, but what about at the personal level? Individual on individual, how do you start to build a trust? What have you found works well to do that?
Well, the most simplest thing is just saying good morning and good evening. Start from there.
But that, for me, Japan, that's a basic, that's an absolute basic. I mean, ohayou gozaimasu, osaki ni shichou shimasu, or whatever. That's just a given in this culture, right? So that's nothing remarkable about that, surely.
It is, but if you put yourself in an international culture, maybe that's not the case.
That would be the case, yeah.
So I do understand that there are differences.
Although it's interesting, you know, maybe, I don't know, I think back to Australia, you know, I think in the Australian business culture, yeah, saying good morning to people, particularly in the morning, because people leave at different times of the day, but certainly they usually tend to arrive about the same time. Or in the evening, oh, I'm going now, see you tomorrow, you know. Some interaction there.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't lived there for a long time, so maybe the whole thing's completely changed and they've given up doing that. But they used to do that, very similar to Japan. I think if I think about that now, and I think that's just part of the human dimension to me.
Sure. But, you know, I'm pretty okay about showing what my weaknesses are to people. If people are going to associate with me on that front, that's perfectly fine. But the starting point is you talk to people. You communicate. You let them understand what kind of person you are. I don't want to be isolated in a room where, you know, I'm sort of this mystical figure that only signs on papers. But you shouldn't be. Well, I don't want it to be that way. I want to put a name to a face.
I mean, in that regard, for example, are you someone who takes people out to lunch or coffee and interact that way? Do you get small groups of maybe younger people together and have some interaction with them, or you know, lots of town halls? Or I mean, there's so many tools we can access to have that. For you, what do you like to do?
Well, it's a combination. I drink fairly a lot. If people want to go out for drinks, that's fine with me.
And do they do that anymore? Because, you know, once upon a time when I got here in Japan, everyone was doing it. And then it seemed like the younger generation said, forget that, I'm going home, I don't want to do it anymore. So it's sort of changing.
So a lot of a change is happening. So I do respect if people want to go home early, not have to do anything with business after 5, that's fine too. So what's important for me is to understand that change. But even under those changes, if people want to say, let's go out to lunch, let's go out for drinks, that's fine. I've already spoken to my guys here that, you know, my calendar is open to my assistant. So if anybody finds an opening and wants to have drinks with me, that's fine. You know, I'll do it every day if it's necessary.
And do people do that? Because one sense in Japan, you know, the shacho, the president, is like a very godlike figure. And thinking me turning up in the shacho's diary to have a drink with him, some lowly pleb, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't even imagine imposing on the president to do that. So.
Well, you know, I don't want to be some kind of figure that's unapproachable. I'm very open. I'm very blunt in certain ways. So if I don't appreciate something, I'll say it. But, you know, in a non-business context, I'd like to be an easygoing guy. And
now, is that because you've retired and you sort of come back, or is this been something? Because I know when I was younger, I was not like that. I was driven, I was ambitious, I was pushing all the time, go. But since I started with Dale Carnegie changed my life completely in how I think about these things and people particularly. And I think I've become a much better leader and I've calmed down a lot. I think I'm more balanced than I was. So how about yourself? Have you always been like that, or is this at this stage in your career?
Of course, you build up your career over the years, and that forms you. But what hasn't changed is this one idea that I'm not going to be here forever. In that sense, I'm not selfish. I don't want to rule the world. I don't want to be sitting in this chair forever. I know there's going to be change. I know I'm going to age, and I am in the aging stages. So fully understanding that, I just want to do my best when I'm in office or in a position, and I don't want to cling to it. If there's a rising start, I'd happily, give my seat to that person.
Well, is that might be the case now?
Yeah.
But let's wind back, say, when you were a little bit,
younger,
before you retired.
Yeah.
Did you have the same idea then, or this is a change for you?
Well, it's a combination of both, because any person has confidence in themselves. I did. I was ambitious. But if you're in a group context, you also need to have the observation that some people are just better than you. You know, you can't.
Extremely annoying.
It is.
These people are extremely annoying.
It is, but you have to come to respect. Going back to the question, why? Why does this person perform so well, conduct themselves in such a professional manner, or have more capacity than you? You look at it, you dig into it. If it's something you don't have or you cannot nurture, so look, forget it. I can't do that. So I'm very, very honest to myself as well.
Fair enough too. In terms of culture, for example, you have Savills, 160-year-old company, global UK start. It's built up over centuries, basically, culture. And then you have Japan culture, because we're working here. And then you have Eiichiro culture, right? So you, as a leader, naturally, we have our own values, we have our own concepts, and we within the framework, we can't go against Savile culture because you're going to get fired. You can't go against Japanese culture because you'll get nowhere.
Right.
So you have to take that into account. But then you have your own culture. So what have you found works well to build your own culture in an organization?
Well, it's really about laying the facts.
About what?
The facts.
Okay.
The facts of how to do business, what time frame you do business, what context you do business. Those are the difference between two nations or cultures. And you have to lay that in front of it. Look, which do you want to choose? If you want to achieve results in this time frame from this kind of a yield, this is the approach that best works in this country. But if you want to shorten that process, you can do that as well. But you'll miss out on something. You might gain time, but you might gain
problems.
Problems, yeah, sure. So, again, every country is different and every person is different. So just trying to understand what makes people tick is sort of the question that never gets answered.
Well, I think also the understanding that you can't lead everyone in a singular fashion based on what you like and how you are constructed and how your brain works, to know that people have got variations, and some people need maybe a little bit more assertion to get them to work hard.
Sure.
Some people, you do that, you just destroy them.
Right.
And some people are motivated by one thing, others motivated by something different. So that understanding of the people and being able to isolate. And I think sports, I remember there was a famous coach called Ron Barassi in Australian football, Aussie rules football, very famous for his thundering halftime locker room speeches, and driving them out there to win the game in the last, quarter or whatever it was, right?
Sure.
It was one approach for everybody the same exact way, which in those days was thought to be how you did it. But these days, you listen to how top successful sports coaches operate. They're all like psychologists.
Right. Okay.
They're all really one person, each player, one person at a time, and they really understand how to appeal to that person, what degree of assertion or non-assertion, or what angle. It's become very scientific in a way.
Sure.
And you have to say, as leaders in business, we have to be doing the same thing, I would think.
Sure. But each industry has its unique features, and the qualities you bring in, the attributes you bring in for a unique context is very specific. I've lived my life as a real estate person. Being a real estate person, you have to look at things a certain way. You have to understand things in a certain way. It's a different attitude from being a banker.
So tell me this. I hope to hear that you have got truckloads of real estate personally in Japan. You never have to work again because over the years you've invested in real estate and you build up a big stock portfolio of rental properties and it's going perfectly. Well done. I love real estate too. And I've owned a lot of real estate over the years, and I love real estate. And I was also, as I mentioned, I was with Jones Lang LaSalle, well then called Jones Wooten in those days, but that got me hooked on real estate too. I've always liked real estate.
Yeah.
I'm not very good on stocks. Picking stocks, I'm extremely poor. Real estate, I like.
People have different talents on different
I'm not good at stocks.
industries.
So if you're going to give some advice to someone who is being sent to Japan, they say, hey, Eiichiro, I've got this big job in Japan. They're going to send me out there, going to run the company. You know all about Japan. You've worked internationally. What's some ways I could be effective as a leader? What advice would you give them?
Well, are you open to change? Are you open to differences? Because that's why I keep repeating this. If you treat differences as something superior or inferior to what you value, you're not going to get anywhere. You just treat them as differences. If you have the human and mental capacity to appreciate that, I think that person will succeed. You have to motivate yourself and drive yourself every day to get to a certain point that you want to be. That's a given for any business person. But you also need to understand what you want to do in life. As a child, I was treated like an adult because I behaved like an adult. I never wanted to be treated as a kid. So when an elderly would come in and children, I hated that word. So at this point in my life, my mental attitude and my physical state is very aligned.
And so also in terms of other advice you'd give them, what other things should you suggest to them to be thinking about?
Okay, the values of being young is that you can be taking more risk. As you mature, you choose and select. You take less risks, like it or not.
Well, you got less time to fix it up.
Yeah.
If you screw it up.
When you're young, you can jump into things, and you may find things that you didn't think you could achieve. And that's the beauty of being young and challenging. So if you are, below a certain age, I'd say do everything you want to do. It only builds your character.
And what about, often the people who are sent out here, expats, are given, marching orders from headquarters. They're looking at the numbers in Japan. They go, those numbers don't look good enough, or something's, quality, or whatever it might be, branding or whatever. And you've given, okay, you go out there, you got to fix this now, get onto it. Coming from a Western mindset of how fast you can institute change, right? And then you get here, and then, as we say, the speed dial here is a bit, there's more complexity, I think, around speeding things up here. There's many more intersecting parts which have to be taken accounting of, which they don't know about.
Right.
So how do you give them some advice on how to deal with that sort of headquarter pressure for results with the reality of how things work in Japan? Yeah,
you have to be flexible in trying to select the asset class or the products in your portfolio. What works in one economic cycle doesn't necessarily work in the other, so you have to balance that out. But you have to preach what the lay of the land is. And if headquarters or anybody who has the ultimate authority doesn't understand that, they're going to lose out on the opportunity. Or I could say, this is what it is. And I've come to an age where I can say, this is what it is. If you don't like it, you can replace me.
Okay. Well, that's interesting too, isn't it? Because often people come into organizations, they don't know Japan, don't speak the language. Things look wrong. Systems are different. There's something's going on here. What's going on here? Why are we doing it like that? Doesn't make any sense. We don't do it like that in America or wherever, We've got to change that. However, there are people in the company who are rigorously defending the current status quo. And the new person can see them as a problem. Dead wood.
Of course.
I'm going to come in here, I've got to prune out some of this dead wood, resisting the changes we need to make so we can get to where we need to be. What's your advice when they're starting to think like that?
Well, it's like going back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have to understand where people are coming from. And people are resistant to change. I fully understand that. I've been through that a lot. So
I make a joke, by the way. You'll appreciate the joke. When I'm dealing with foreigners, I tell them, look, Japanese love change. And they sort of reel back and they look at me like, are you nuts? I say, yeah. They want their boss to change. They want their colleagues to change.
Sure.
They want the company to change.
Yeah.
They want the market to change. They want the clients to change.
Yeah.
But they don't want to change at
Right,
all.
right.
And I think that's everywhere, right?
Yeah,
We're all like that.
that's everywhere. So if I were speaking to a subordinate, I would say, look, then explain to me what you want to do. This is how I perceive I'd like to do it. And at the end of the day, if I don't think that you'd be an efficient manager in that capacity, somebody's going to replace you. It's just the way it is. And we don't have to be friends in the office. You need to be good acquaintances, but at the end of the day, everybody's here to do business. So as long as you can appreciate that fundamental idea, it should be okay.
Although, having said that, though, maybe I'm out of date on England. I'm probably grown up in Australia watching English movies and shows and whatever. But I always felt that there was a type of patriarchal, fatherly concept in England about the staff, work for the owner of the company. They're all sort of, part of the family to some extent.
Yeah.
And in Japan too, that,
Sure.
yes, we're not cold-blooded capitalists and we're just, bottom line and everything. We're a group. Group is very important, and we're part of a family within the company, and the bosses should be taking care of everyone.
Sure.
Whereas in the Western context, it's, for most people, it's like take care of yourself because the company's not your dad, and you've got to be responsible for your own results and your own career.
Sure.
So get to it, So there are those sorts of things where in Japan there may be an expectation that it's a bit more, I'm going to say more, family, take care of you oriented maybe than in the West?
Well, yeah, there is. You try to be good with your colleagues because you're going to spend an awful lot of time with them anyways.
Exactly.
So it's better good than not.
Yeah.
But I would go back to the individual who has complaints about, I shouldn't be here, the system shouldn't be like that. So look, does this organization fit your ambitions? If it doesn't, maybe you need to move on to a different place. And people do that a lot, especially in the Western context. Not so much in the Asian context, but again, the choice is yours. So it's important as a business leader to present those choices to the individuals if they are in sort of a disarray.
Should they learn Japanese?
If you're going to do business in Japanese, absolutely. Absolutely. I've learned through my years in English-speaking nations that because I speak English fluently, they accept me as locals.
Yeah.
And just going to a bar or whatever kind of game that people go to, the language is the common denominator that breaks the ice and gets you into situations where people live the way they do. The people eat the things that they eat. If you understand that, you understand the culture and the country more, so you can immerse yourself better in business situations as well. So yeah, if you're going to work in Japan, absolutely speak Japanese. And if you can, try to speak fluently.
Well, we're all working on that. I'm still working on that. So what would be your definition of leadership?
Setting directions. It's not about the individual. The goal is what people need to look at. I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be the person that's irreplaceable. My thinking process is, like to do a good job, but when I find the next rising talent, it's my duty to appoint that person. So it's an ongoing process, and therefore, what are the goals of the organization? Just setting that goal very clear so that people can understand. If it's just earning money, maybe that's the case. You can say, earn as much money as you can. But if there's an element that you can say, look, I want to contribute to something, you have to show those goals. And if people buy into that, then you'll probably have a good organization.
Excellent advice, Eiichiro-san. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Fabulous interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So please join us again for our next episode of Japan's top business interviews.